This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, guys, let's get started. So, a very warm welcome to this System Center Config Manager online training session. Now, I'm gonna take you to the slide which talks about the historical details of SCCM. Okay, so SCCM started in 1994 as SMS 1.0. Then Microsoft changed the name from SMS to SCCM in the year 2007. Then SCCM 2012, then SCCM 15, 11 as a year and month. As you see, year 2015 and 11 is November month. Then Microsoft started releasing SCCM 3 times a year. So 1602 in February, June, and October. These are 3 versions in 2016. These 3 versions in the year 2017, 1702, 1706, 1710. These 3 versions in the year 2018. Okay, and these 3 versions in the year 2019. So in 19 October they changed the name again. From previously the first name was SMS, the second name was SCCM, and now
MECM.
hear me properly? Is my voice clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the third name of SCCM, that is MECM, Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, 1910. Now in the year 2020 they released 3 versions, 2002, 2006, and 2010. Okay, then Microsoft this year they have released 2103 MECM. That is the latest and greatest version of SCCM. 2103. 21 is what? 2020. And 03 is what?
March.
So March 21. 2 months ago they have released this, the latest version. So as you see, there are many versions released by Microsoft in the last 25 years. Okay, now what they do when they upgrade the version, they add some more feature, they add more capabilities, they remove some downside of SCCM. So mostly they are adding more and more features in each version, but the platform is same. You know, the platform, the framework is same, the architecture is same. Got it?
Yeah.
So very little bit changes, not drastic change, only couple of changes you will find in each upgrade. So 2103 is the latest and greatest version of SCCM. Now I'm going to talk about the certification. Previously we used to take this exam 70-703 and become SCCM certified, but now Microsoft has expired this one. It is expired. So we don't have any specific certification for this one. Got it? Now, so SCCM holds 43% of market share. That means wherever you go, you will find in big size and medium size companies, you will have SCCM. Okay, clear? In big size and medium size companies, you will have SCCM. Then people who are working on SCCM, they are getting good salary, somewhere around $45 per hour. So this is, you know, average salary is good in US, Canada, Australia, Europe, in many countries. I have no idea about Nigeria, you know, how much the average salary is for SCCM administrator there. You will have to find out. And in order to check the
opportunities in SCCM, you will have to apply in your local job portal. So in US and Canada, we have Indeed and Dice, right? You have to apply for local in your local job portal. In Nigeria, I don't know, what is the website there. So when you apply for, when you keep your resume and profile there, what will happen? People will be able to find you, and you will get calls for the interviews, right? So the benefit is that this product is there for the past 25 years. This product is almost installed in all the big size and medium size company. The people are earning good amount of salary, plus you have less number of competitors. So very less number of competitors. Okay, and this is the third largest selling product of Microsoft. Okay, third largest selling product of Microsoft. Understood? So first Microsoft is selling OS, operating system, then Office, and then this SCCM. So it is hugely deployed all over the globe. Wherever you go, you will find SCCM. Okay, so that's the benefit of this tool. Now let me take you to the next slide, which talks about the SCCM sites. There are 3 sites in SCCM. Okay, site server. There are 3 site server, like central administration site, primary site, and secondary site. Now central administration site is optional site. Start making note of it, guys. It is an optional site. This one is mandatory site, and this one is optional site. All clear? Rajesh, Lydia, any questions so far?
No, that's fine.
Okay, Lydia, I think you are on mute. You need to unmute yourself. Lydia?
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's just
So,
notes. Are we supposed to be writing it down, or we're supposed to, in a notebook, or is that what you?
but either you take a photo of this one, even though I will share the recording with you and the slide with you, but I would
Okay.
suggest when you write it down, you will be able to remember it. Okay.
Cool. Okay.
So all these site servers are installed on Windows Server. Okay. All these site servers can be installed on Windows Server 2012 or greater. So either 2012, 2012 R2, or 16, 19.
2016 server version.
So central administration site is optional, primary site is mandatory, and secondary site is also optional. Now we will see what are these sites. One by one, we are gonna discuss about them. So central administration site, as I mentioned, it can be installed on Windows Server. So point number 1, you can install on Windows Server 2012 or greater. Okay, so Windows Server 2012 or greater. Okay, so you install CAS here, central administration site. Point number 2, it is an optional site. Why optional means? You may find this in some company will have it, some company do not have this one. It is not mandatory that you will get this in every company. Okay, it is installed based on certain criteria. Now what is the criteria? The criteria is it is installed, or it is needed only if you have more than one primary site. If you have more than one primary site, then only we install central administration site. Understood? How
Yes.
the central administration site is installed, I'll show you. Suppose you have primary site, okay, and that is primary site 1. Similarly, you install another primary site 2. The moment you have more than one primary site, now we have more than one primary site, then we can have a central administration site on top. So it will be sitting on the top of the hierarchy, and primary will report to central administration site like this. So top, central, then primary. Understood? Any question?
No.
So it is needed only if you have more than one primary site. Now point number 4, it needs SQL Server database. SQL Server database. Okay. Now central administration side, basically what happens, it stores the data, whatever the data it collects, it is gonna store them into the database like this. Okay. So it is collecting data from where? It is collecting data from primary side database. So primary also has database. Let's say two primary sites are there. So both of them will have database, and both of them are reporting to central like this. But the data is going to be replicated here. Whatever the data this has, it is going to pass on to the central database. Whatever the data this has, it is going to pass on here. So basically this database is collecting data of P1 and P2 both. Okay, clear?
Yes.
So these are the server side architecture I'm showing you. Later on we will do the practical, so then the things will be more clear at that time. So it needs SQL Server database. Point number 5, it collects data. From where it collects data? It collects data from primary side database, right? Primary side database. Understood? As I mentioned, CAS has a database, right? And from where this data will come? So from primary side database. So primary side is going to send the data here, and it is going to store the data. Okay. Point number 6, it can support up to 25 child primary site. How many primary site can one central administration site have? So let's say you have central, so it can have maximum 25 child primary site, not more than that. Okay, suppose these are primary site, right? So primary site, how many primary site? 25, not more than 25. Okay.
Kasif, I have. So when we have secondary database, secondary servers with database, at that time primary also generates some data, or it gets data from secondary?
It gets data from secondary as well.
So primary also does some functions.
Yes, primary also collect data from client computers.
Okay.
And it collects data from secondary site as well.
So we distribute roles, or it's auto distributed, like everything secondary will be doing, or
I will discuss those things will come. Don't worry. Your question will be clear.
Rajesh, you're running faster than us. You know you're an expert, so take it easy.
Yeah. So I will discuss those secondary replication. Don't worry about it. First, you understand the central administration side. So central is sitting on the top of the hierarchy. We install it on Windows Server 2012 or greater. It is an optional site. It is needed only when you have more than one primary site. It needs SQL Server database to store the data, and from where it collects data, it collects data from primary site database, and it can have maximum 25 child primary site, plus it supports up to 825,000 client computers. Okay,
800.
so in one, suppose there is a company in Nigeria, for example. Let's say the company name is Yahoo. Okay, and Yahoo has how many devices? uh, Yahoo has all over the globe 825,000 computers. For 825,000 computers, so the headquarter is in Nigeria, branch office in all other locations. So you will have one CAS, central administration site. Either you put it in Nigeria or any other location. Then you will have primary site, multiple primary site, let's say 3 primary site, and multiple secondary site. Okay, secondary site. So if the this company has more than 825,000 devices, let's say this company has 925,000 devices, then one CAS will not be sufficient. You will have to install another CAS because it is going above the limit. Understood? So one CAS will not be sufficient. You will have to install one more CAS. So that is how, but very few, I don't think any company will have more than 825,000 devices, right? Very rare deployment. You will see, hardly see anywhere this kind of deployment, wherein you have more than one CAS. Now, point number 8, it does not talk to client computers and secondary site server.
Okay.
So client computer means what? In every machine you will have to install a agent, like a small software. So SCCM client, in every machine you have to install client. For example, these are Windows 10 machines, right? So you need to install agent, then only it will be talking to the server. But if you don't install the agent here, it will not talk to the server, the SCCM server. So you need to install client in every machine. The client will always talk to the primary or secondary. Either the client is talking to primary or secondary, right? It will not talk to CAS.
Okay.
Okay, it will not talk to central administration site. Plus the secondary site will always be talking to primary site. It will not talk to central administration site. Okay, CAS will never talk to a central administration site, guys. Understood? Any question?
Okay. I'm suggesting that we should try
Sure.
like the one of the items number 4. It needs SQL Server. So let's always try to use the full the initials. Like let's Like SQL, what is the full meaning of SQL?
It is a structured query language. Basically, it is the language of the database.
Okay.
So, so we are basically storing the data in the database, and the language which we use to store the data is SQL. Okay.
Okay.
So that is not that important to know, but that's okay. SQL is a structured query language to store the data in the database. So we will have database, and in database is like what? It is having rows and columns like this one, right? So in order to store the data, you will use SQL query, okay? The structured query language to store the data. Then the data will fill up here, okay?
Okay.
Now this is all about central administration side, guys. Now we will see the primary side. What is primary side? Okay, primary is like a mandatory. It is the heart of SCCM. Without this, nothing will work. It is like engine. You know, in a motorcycle or car, you have the engine, right? Without this, nothing is going to, you will not be able to manage any devices. So SCCM is what? SCCM is basically like enterprise device management. So suppose SCCM server is here, right? You can manage your devices. You will have like 50,000 machines, for example. Some machines are located in Nigeria, some machines are located in New York, some machines are in Mumbai. So 50,000 machines, you will have complete control on the devices, right? So whatever you want, you can deploy policy, you can deploy application, you can deploy updates, you can deploy operating system, you can deploy compliance setting, you can find out the hardware and software configuration. So everything you can do, you will have complete control on these devices. That is all about SCCM. SCCM is enterprise device management solution. Okay, clear? So suppose if you are in Nigeria and you would like to install application in New York computer. So from Nigeria, suppose your SCCM server is in Nigeria and you have some computers in New York, for example, 10,000 machines in New York, and I need to restart these machines. I'll send a policy and all these machines get restarted. Okay. Suppose I need to deploy application. Let's say I need to install one application called Microsoft Office. So I'll send the policy from the server and all these machines will install Office. Okay. Suppose I need to deploy Windows 10 operating system. So I'll send the policy. All these machines will get the policy and install operating system. Okay. So mostly what we do, we install the primary side in headquarter. So this is a mandatory side. It is what? Mandate. Second is it manages client computers on well-connected network. It manages computer on well-connected network. For example, you have Nigeria office, right? In Nigeria, you have 50,000 devices. All these 50,000 devices are located on connected to a LAN network. We will have a network there, network cable. All these machines are connected to that network. So we will install one primary site there to manage all these 50,000 devices. Okay, because all the machines are in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
They are connected on the same LAN network, same location. So we'll install one single primary site to do the management of these 50,000 devices. Understood?
Mm-hmm. Manage experience.
Now, point number 3, it also needs SQL database. It needs SQL query language. Okay, database. So primary site, as you see, primary site is gonna store the data in the database. Okay, it will have a separate database, just like CAS has a separate database. The central administration site database
Mm-hmm.
is separate, and primary site also separate database. So from where it will collect the data, it will collect data from client computers, let's say 50,000 machines or 20,000 machines. So in each machine we have installed SCCM client. The client is going to send the data to the site, right? And client is going to send the data to primary site, and primary site is going to store the data in the database. So plus it also gets data from secondary site database. So secondary has a database as well. So it is gonna pass on the data, whatever the secondary has collected the data, it is gonna pass on to primary site database. Understood? Point number 4 is it collects data. We are talking about primary site now, so it collects data from where?
Secondary.
From client computers, right? And client computers and secondary site database. Okay, secondary site database. Now, when we need it, a secondary site, I'll tell you later on. Okay, so mostly we use secondary site in branch offices in remote location. Secondary site is for branch offices, guys. It supports up to how many devices? It supports up to 175,000 client computers. So one primary site can support up to how many devices, guys?
1,000.
175,000.
175,000, yes.
Huh?
175,000 client computers.
Right. So suppose there is a company called Yahoo in Nigeria, okay, and that company has less than 175,000 devices. So let's say 165,000 devices are there in that Nigeria location. So we will install one single primary site to handle all these devices, to manage all these devices. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If it is only in capital city, Nigeria is very big country.
Sorry, if it is?
It is in one city, one location.
Yeah, one location. If it is in multiple location, let's say, sorry, what happened? I can't close this one. This got key. Sorry guys, what happened? Primary site and then yeah. So if it is in one location, let's say Nigeria city, 165,000, and then you have branch office. Let's say 5,000 machines are there in branch office. So we will install secondary site there in different location. Okay, machines which are there in the headquarter, we install primary site. For machines which are there in branch office, we install secondary site. Understood?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there is a big mall, Walmart. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
Walmart is there in New York. Okay, so it's a big mall, but at your next to your in Nigeria, you may have a branch office, the small building of Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to manage this one, we will install primary site, right? For in New York, let's say headquarters is in New York, and in Nigeria, if it's a is branch office, we will install secondary site in Nigeria, something like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Point number 6 is um, it supports up to 175,000 client computers. Then it manages secondary site as well. Like it can add, delete secondary site. It can modify the secondary site component feature. So it manages secondary sites. Okay. So these are the information for primary site. It's a mandatory site. It manages client computer in well-connected network, right? Like on local LAN network in headquarter. It needs database to store the data. It collects data from client computers and secondary side. It has a limit of 175,000 client computers. It manages secondary side. Now, how many secondary side one primary side can have? So it can have maximum 250 secondary side. Got it? 250 secondary site it can have maximum. It should not be more than that. Any question?
So what supports the client manager?
What is? Sorry?
What supports the client manager?
What supports client manager?
Yeah, you mentioned that the client manager can speak to the client manager. I think you said something about client manager having to
Client computer, right? Not client
no,
manager.
is it client computer you mentioned? You said for us to be able to use CAS, if CAS can translate information, that there has to be some client manager that would send.
SCCM client should be installed in all the machines. That is what I mentioned. So SCCM client, let's say there are 10,000 machines. So all these 10,000 machines, they will talk to primary or they will talk to secondary. Okay, but they will not talk to CAS. That is what I mentioned, right? They will not talk to CAS. So in every machine, you have to install SCCM client.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So CCM client is on its own. It doesn't really have how will I explain? It doesn't really have to connect to the to the primary site? Also?
No, it has to connect with primary site. SCCM client is like a small software which you have to install in all the machines. Just like in your phone, in order to access Gmail account, what will you do? You will install the Gmail agent, Gmail client on your machine, on your computer, I mean on your mobile phone.
Okay.
So Gmail server is there on Google. Gmail server is somewhere in cloud, for example. So on your phone, you will install Gmail. So that will connect to the Gmail server, and from there you will be able to download your emails on your mobile. Similarly, on the computer, whatever the computer you have, let's say 10,000 or 20,000 computers, you need to install SCCM client. Okay, in every machine you need to install SCCM client, and that client will talk to primary site. Okay.
Okay.
Now secondary side. When do we need secondary side? It is an optional side. Okay, it is an optional side. You may or may not have this one. It is not mandatory. When do we need this one? When you have branch offices. So let's say NY, New York, has 50,000 devices. So for 50,000 devices, you install primary side, and it is managing all the devices in that location. Now tomorrow you have opened up branch office. Okay, one is in Nigeria. Okay, another one is in London, another one is in Mumbai, and all these locations have some devices. Let's say 2,000 devices here, 3,000 devices are here in this branch office, 5,000 devices are there in this branch office. You see there are how many devices outside? 10,000. 2 plus 3 plus 5, 10,000 machines are outside. So in order to manage the devices in remote location, we will install secondary site in each region. So Nigeria will have a separate secondary site, London will have a separate secondary site, and Mumbai will have a separate secondary site. So these secondary will report back to the New York primary site. Understood?
Okay.
Kasif,
Hmm.
what should be the minimum number of computers to have a site server, secondary site server?
Minimum computer 500 in a region, in a remote location. If you have less than 500, for example, you have in Nigeria, if you have 200 machines, then you don't need secondary site. Okay, you need site system, like a role will be installed, only distribution point, but the policies and everything, they will be getting it from here, from the primary, from New York, these 200 machines, and content they will be getting from distribution point, which I will discuss later on. But the minimum number 500.
I have 63 computers and a site server.
Sorry?
I have 63 computers at my site, and I have a site server, secondary site server.
Okay, so that is not the right way. As per Microsoft, I am showing you, Microsoft says if you have less than 500 devices, you go with the distribution point. Don't install secondary site, because that will be additional headache, right?
Sorry, distribution point is what?
Distribution point is a role which we will discuss tomorrow.
Okay.
That will be installed. That is one of the components in secondary site.
Okay, okay. So it is still a secondary server, but a little less role.
Not secondary server, it will just have a single component. It will, secondary will have many components, like a distribution point. It will have, let's say, London will have distribution point, it will have management point, it will have a software update point. Okay. Many roles will be there, but in Nigeria we will have just single distribution point. Okay, other roles will not be there on Nigeria. Understood?
Oh, good.
So for now, you just understand that this one is optional. Okay, and this is for branch offices. For Nigeria, for London, for Mumbai, you will install secondary site. Okay, you will install secondary site for each region, so that the secondary site is going to manage the machines here, 2000 machines, 3000 machines, 5000 machines. And after managing, after deploying, whatever the things it can do, after collecting the inventory, every secondary site will have database. It's going to store the data in the database. Secondary site has database, right? It is storing the information in that database, and it will then finally, the data will be replicated here. All the data, whatever the data it collects, it is going to pass on here. All the data it collects, it is going to pass on here. Clear? So primary is like parent, and secondary is child. Okay. So point number 1, it is an optional site, as I mentioned earlier. Point number 2, it is for branch office computers. Okay, branch office devices. So we will be installing secondary site to manage branch office devices. Point number 3, it needs SQL database. It needs database, okay, to store the data. Point number 4, it collects data from where? From client computers. It collects data from where? Client
computers in the branch.
Yes, in the branch office. Point number 5, it passes the data
Primary PS database.
to PS database, primary site database. Okay, basically it is going to pass on the data to primary site database. Point number 6 is it has a limit. It supports how many devices? 15. Huh? Secondary site we are talking about now. So it supports 15,000 client computers. Okay, clear? So it is an optional. It is basically for branch offices. It needs SQL Server database or SQL Express. It needs a database, and it collects data from client computers, and then it will pass on the data to primary site. It supports up to 15,000 client computers, not more than that. Clear, Rajesh?
Yes.
Yes.
So now I'll ask questions. Okay, but before I ask question, I'll show you the architecture diagram. This is for the first diagram is for a small size companies, wherein you don't have any branch office, you just have one single location. Let's say Houston has 5,000 machines. What will you do? You will install one single primary site to manage all these 5,000 machines. That is called a standalone primary site. Suppose if you have a medium size organization which is like primary, where you have branch office, headquarter, right? Headquarter and branch office. So headquarter will be, let's say, Houston. 5,000 machines are there, so we will install primary site for Houston. And for Seattle and Boston, let's say you have Seattle and then you have Boston, right? These are the branch offices. 2,000 machines or 3,000 machines are here. You will install secondary, and secondary will report to primary like this. Got it? And this kind of architecture is very rare, but you have for big size organization where you have more than one primary site. Let's say you have 825,000 computers all over the globe. So you will install one primary site in Americas region, another primary site in Europe region, another primary site in Asia Pacific region. You can have another primary site for Africa region, and all these will report to central administration site. Okay, clear? This kind of architecture is very rare for big size organization like IBM, Accenture, Deloitte, but very rare. You will hardly find this kind of architecture. Got it? Rajesh, clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now data, as I mentioned earlier, every site has a database. Secondary has a database. So whatever the data it collects, it is going to pass on to the primary database. So whatever the primary collects, it is going to pass on to central administration site database. Okay. Now the question, what is the limit of central administration site? How many primary site it can support, guys?
Support
875,000.
225 primary site it can support. Okay.
Yeah, 825,000.
How many client computers it can support?
800 and
825,000 client computers. Now for primary side, how many secondary side it supports?
500.
No. Primary side supports
250
250 secondary side.
secondary sites, yes. And client,
Okay.
175,000.
175,000 client computers it supports. Okay. Now we have secondary side. How many client computers this secondary side supports?
15,000.
15,000 client computers. Okay. Now all these are installed on which Windows server, guys?
26
CAS,
to 26.
primary. We will install these on which server?
2012 onwards.
Right. So Windows Server 2012 onwards or greater. Like you can install this on 2012 or 2012 R2 or 16 or 19. Okay. Now all these sites, do we have database for CAS? Does CAS need a database?
Yes.
Yes. So CAS need database. Primary, does it need database?
Yes.
Yes. And secondary, does it need database?
Yes.
And how the data gets replicated? From downward to upward or upward to downward?
Downward to upward.
Upward.
Yes, so it will go like this. So secondary data will go to primary and primary data will go to central. Okay? Clear?
Yes.
So my question is, since CAS is optional and secondary secondary server is also optional. In a situation where you have only primary data, so a primary site, how do you replicate the data? Is there any other place it stores?
No, so optional means it will install only on a condition. So for what is the condition for CAS? What is the condition for
Condition for
CAS? When
CAS
do we need? When
is
do we
big,
need CAS?
big organizations.
Huh?
For big, big organizations that have branches in various places.
Yeah, big organization, but the actual condition is when you have more than one primary site. When you have more than one primary site. So suppose you have primary 1, it is basically big organization, and primary 2. So when you have more than one primary site, then only you need CAS. Clear? What is the condition for secondary site?
Secondary site is for branch location.
Right. So the CAS condition is what? When you have more than one primary site. Okay, that is the condition when you have greater than one primary site. And secondary site is for branch office. So if you don't have more than one primary site, and if you don't have branch office, then what will you do? You will just install single primary site. Okay, so there is no point for data replication. The primary site is going to store the data in the database. It will talk to all the machines and it will store the data in the database. We don't have any branch office, so we will not get data from branch office. We don't have more than one primary site, we will not install central administration site.
Okay.
Okay, clear?
Okay.
So we have now roles. Okay, these are some roles which we will discuss tomorrow. Understood? Site roles. Now I will send you one. Did I send you the this thing? The assignment to go through one couple of articles are there. Huh?
You sent us 3 links to go through.
Right.
On the website, Microsoft website.
Microsoft website. I want you to go through those websites that talks about site and site roles. Okay.
Yeah.
So that will give you more information about site and site roles. Yes. Clear, Lydia?
Yes, please.
So I will send you the recording. Also, yesterday I sent you the recording. You download the recording on daily basis. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, guys. We'll meet tomorrow. Any question before we wrap it up?
Yes, I have a question. So one of the link I was reading, and it says that site system server. It says that each configuration manager site you install include a site server, that is site system server. This is what we're talking about on this hierarchy.
Yeah, so there are two things, site system and site server. Okay, so site server system is what? I'll tell you. Site server. What is site server? Central is a site server. Primary is a site server. Okay, and secondary is a site server. Got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
These are site system server. Okay. Now we will have one more thing that is called site system, not server. It will have site. It will be site system. Okay. Now site system means these are not site system server. They will have only few roles. Let's say distribution point only, or distribution point and management point only. So these are not secondary, these are not primary, these are not central. They have role, either one role or more than one role. So these are called site system. For example, SMS provider is there, or software update point. So these are called site system.
Okay, so basically they are in the lowest on hierarchy, like a secondary site.
Lowest in
lowest
the
is secondary site server.
Yes, not secondary site. Secondary site is again is a part of server. Secondary is server, but these are site system. It's a small component which we installed on a box
For a particular role.
Particular role. Yes.
Okay.
Only a small component.
Server, same Windows server which is playing as a secondary site. It will be a separate server.
It will be a separate server. Yes.
Okay.
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 Okay, guys. So I hope the session was informative, and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.